Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to practice half an hour of yoga. And yoga class is going to be very gentle. So it's suitable for beginners. I know we have a couple of beginners today in the morning in my class. And after that, we're going to grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, or whatever you drink, sit down and listen to Mark's talk about healthy oils and fats. And if you have questions, you can type your questions in the chat. So you know you have a button chat at the bottom of the screen. And then you type your questions there and Mark will see it and he will answer your questions. Or also, if you want to ask your questions live, we can do that at the end of the talk. Yeah. So before we start yoga class, we want to remind you, please don't work over pain. So yoga shouldn't hurt. Please do stay comfortable and comfortable because we do push the boundaries. We become a little bit more flexible and stronger, but we don't work over pain. So if you feel pain, please do back off. Okay, take a deep breath and maybe again do your yoga stretch. Okay, so for today, we need yoga mats. So I have my yoga mat over there. So if you don't have yoga mat, don't worry. You just can practice somewhere where you are on the floor or on the carpet. And we will need a strap. So this is my yoga strap. So if you don't have a yoga strap, you just grab a towel or a scarf or belt from your dressing gown, because this strap is very useful for shoulder stretches. Okay, so I'm going to take my glasses off and I'm going to come to my yoga mat and we do gentle stretches. Right, we start just standing or sitting. If you prefer sitting, that's also good. Sitting or standing, we just start with a few deep breaths. So I want you, if you stand with your feet parallel, hips width apart, okay, you just relax your arms by the sides, take your shoulders back, and I want you to check on the side where the hips. So the hips above your ankles. If your hips not there, if your hips in front of your ankles, that's not very good for your posture, not very good for the lower back or the hips. So what we do, we lift the toes up and we're going to move the hips back and back and back. And let's check now. Hips above your ankles. Keep your hips there. I want you to squeeze the legs, lengthen the tailbone just a little between the sitting bones. That will help you to engage your core muscles engaged. And then again, relax your arms by the sides, shoulder blades, flatten your upper back. And I want you to take back of the head slightly back to elongate your neck. The crown of the head reaching upwards. Now, if you can release your toes, relax your toes. Please do relax your toes, but try to keep your hips there. If the weight of the body moves forward, you do it again. You lift your toes up, you push the hips back, little bit of tailbone, lots of tummy muscles, shoulders back, and again, relax your neck. So again, bring yourself back into our human gravity line, where the crown of the head above your shoulders, shoulders above the hips, and the hips above your ankles. So this is what we want. We want to bring our body back into human gravity line. And then just relax your breath. You take a few deep breaths. In yoga, this posture called Tadasana or mountain pose. This is where we remind ourselves about good posture, good alignment, hips above your ankles, shoulders above the hips, crown of the head above your shoulders. Okay, take a moment, breathe deeply. And again, if you can relax your toes, check your legs, draw the legs towards the midline, just engage your legs a little stronger and breathe. Relaxing your neck, crown of the head is the peak of the mountain. Reach up, reaching upwards. You can close your eyes if it's okay with your balance. Another couple of deep breaths, using whole capacity of your lungs, expanding on the inhalation, controlling your breath with your tummy muscles. Just draw your tummy muscles in as you exhale. Great. On your next inhale, open your eyes. Okay, and just shake it off. Shake your arms, shake your legs. Okay, we're going to do little movements here. This is very nice warm up for the back, for the hips. and for the shoulders as well. So watch me for a second. We're going to do this. Inhale, we're going to stretch. And as you exhale, we're going to bend your knees forward and imagine you hugging big ball of the energy. And then inhale, you come up and then you go to the right. Exhale, you bend your knees forward. You check in that your knees parallel. Again, hugging big ball of the energy. Inhale, you come up. And then we're going to do again to the front, up, to the left, and up. Okay, so let's do it together now. Okay, keep your feet parallel, hips width apart. Inhale and stretch. And as you exhale, bend your knees forward, hug big ball of the energy. The strong legs come up. Inhale and stretch. We go to the right. Exhale, bend your knees forward. Inhale, strong legs and come up. Exhale to the front. Inhale and lift. Exhale to the left. Inhale and come up. Exhale to the front. Inhale and lift. Now to the right. Exhale, bend your knees forward, your knees parallel. Inhale, come up. Exhale to the front. Inhale, squeeze your legs and lift. Exhale to the left. Knees parallel. Inhale, come up. Exhale to the front. Inhale, lift. Exhale to the right. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale to the front. Inhale, lift. Exhale to the left. Inhale, come on. Exhale and release your arms. Well done, everyone. Lovely warm up, gentle warm up. Roll your shoulders now, relax your shoulders. Great, and then grab your belt. Okay, we do a little bit more for the shoulders now. Take the belt and hold between your hands very, very wide. So wide, so you can take your arms behind almost with ease, almost no effort. And then we bring your belt back. So just check that you're very comfortable here. We start where we feel very, very comfortable, and then we move into the uncomfortable. So just nice and easy. Belt, hands very wide, almost no effort. Just moving arms back and forth. How's your tummy muscles? Squeeze your tummy muscles in. Check again your hips above your ankles. Little bit of tailbone to engage a little bit more the lower abdomen. And keep moving. That's great. Lovely to stretch the shoulders, especially if you spend lots of time in front of the screens. You want to keep shoulders flexible, good alignment. Well done. Finish your last round. And then we're going to bring hands a little closer. Now, measure the space between your hands, about 2 hips width. Okay, and again, stretch your arms up. Now we're not going to take arms behind. So I just want you to lengthen upwards. Lengthen, lengthen. Again, check your hips above your ankles. Lift your toes up if you need to move the hips back. Keep your lower back happy. Hips above your ankles, tummy engaged. And stretch up, stretch, stretch. Now lower your chin to your chest and see if you can stretch a little bit more higher, higher and higher towards the ceiling. And then take the belt back if you have that extra space. Lift your head, lift your chin and move your head back. Just a little bit more and keep stretching, keep moving. Lengthening on inhale. On exhale, I want you to squeeze the shoulder blades at the back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and keep lengthening. Keep stretching upwards and opening the front of the body, opening the front of the chest. Okay, whatever is happening in your shoulders, don't work over pain. Just be comfortable, maybe uncomfortable. And then exhale and come back. Roll your shoulders, relax, relax, relax. So if that was very comfortable and you want more effort, now bring your hands closer. So your hands about hips width. And please do listen to your shoulders when we go. Also, if you have any problem with your back and you have yoga block at home or yoga break, so squeeze between your inner thighs. So this is where we remind ourselves to keep very steady legs. You're going to squeeze that block. And again, check that the hips above your ankles. Little bit of tailbone, tummy in, and stretch your arms up. Inhale, stretch. You squeeze the block to keep your lower back safely supported. Again, tailbone, tummy. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, lower your chin. So when you lower your chin to your chest, you have more space to squeeze the shoulder blades at the back. Can you lengthen? Can you squeeze your shoulders at the back? And then lift your head and move the head back. Your ears moving back of the head, your upper palate. And keep stretching, stretching upwards and back. Up and moving the belt back. Comfortably with the lower back. So again, maybe just look down, check the hips above your ankles. Tummy engage and keep stretching, stretching, stretching upwards and back, up and back, up and back. And it doesn't matter how far you go. Listen to your back, listen to your body. On your next inhale, come back to the middle, relax and roll your shoulders. Take the block into your hands and shake your legs. Relax, relax, relax. Well done, everyone. Move the belt to the side. Yeah, and the block to the side. And then find the space in your room where you can place your hand on the wall. So, and you come closer to the wall. So you can see that your elbow bent. So you touch on the wall and you walk forward away from your hand. The hand is behind you. And then we're going to, again, check the lower back. A little bit of tailbone, tummy in, lengthening through the side. Open your other arm. So, and you probably notice that the shape of your body, you know, like Kate Winslet and DiCaprio standing on the Titanic. So this is what we're doing. We're doing this shape, like I called it Titanic. So lift your chest, take your shoulders back, take your head back, and press your hand into the wall. So that hand, just the finger pads pressing into the wall, and you already have a lovely stretch for your shoulders. And I want you to check again, a little bit more length from the hips to your armpits, shoulders back, back of the head back, lift your chin a little. And if you have space to turn on one spot, so this is going to be anti-clockwise direction, if you do right hand on the wall, and you turn a little bit more. And you have a little bit more stretch on the front of the chest. Lovely stretch for the shoulders. Take your head back again, lift your chin a little. Engage your tummy muscles to support your back. Lovely stretch for the shoulders. Deep breath into your chest. And then come back. Exhale and come back. And let's just roll the shoulders. Shake your arms. Okay, well done. Great. Now left hand, come to the wall. Place your hand on the wall. Lower than your shoulder. And your hand is behind. And you open your other arm. And again, lengthening the tailbone. Tummy in. Squeeze. Shoulders back. Back of the head back. Press your left hand into the wall, just the finger pads, and extend. And if you have space to turn on one spot, away from the wall, go for it. And you have super stretch, lovely stretch for the shoulders. So from the sternum to your shoulder, all these pectoral muscles stretching. Relax your neck. Another deep breath. And then come back. Exhale and come back. And again, shake your arms, roll your shoulders, relax, relax, relax. Great. Watch me for a moment. We're going to the forward bend. We warm up a little bit more the lower back and the hips more. So this is your forward bend. You're going to take your feet wider than the hips and you're going to keep your feet parallel. Inhale, lengthen, and as you exhale, you fold forward. Touching the floor or holding your elbows. We're going to stay for 5 breaths here. And then before you come up, again, you're going to bend your knees forward, hands to the hips, elbows, shoulders, lift your chin and come up with a straight back. Okay, let's do it together. If you haven't started, take your feet wider than the hips, maybe even as wide as your yoga mat. That would be very nice for you. Okay, keep your feet parallel. Just look at your feet parallel, hands to the hips. Inhale, lengthen from the hips to your armpits. Now bend your knees forward and fold between your legs. Fold and then relax your neck. Drop your hands, maybe on the floor, maybe you can touch the floor with your finger pads. Okay, and then squeeze the legs stronger. Inhale on your finger pads and stretch forward. We try to keep the back straight. And as you exhale, squeeze the legs and bow. Or maybe you want to hold your elbows, and that's also okay. Inhale, lengthen, look away from the hips. Exhale, squeeze the legs and bow. And again, inhale, stretch forward. It's okay to have your knees bent a lot forward. Exhale, squeeze the legs, tummy in and hold. And again, twice more. Again, inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, squeeze the legs and bow. We do it again. Inhale, stretch and lengthen. Exhale, super strong legs. Squeeze the legs and bow. Now take a moment to relax your neck. Relax your breath. And before you come up, I want you to bend your knees again forward to keep your back straight. Hold your hips. Lift your elbows and your shoulders. Lift your chin and come up with the strong legs. Inhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze your legs and then come up. Exhale, relax your arms and just roll your shoulders. Bring your feet closer and just shake your legs. Relax, relax, relax your legs. Okay, well done everyone. Now come to the front of your mat. And we do the postures called Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. So a couple of postures. You're going to step back with the right leg. Right foot back, big step back. Very, very big step. And then you're looking at your front heel. Heel in line with the middle of your back and step. Okay, and how far you can step back with your right foot. If you stretch your arms, you can see that your heels beneath your wrists. So that's how far you can step back. But obviously listen to your lower back. If it's too far, just bring your feet closer. And then look at your left foot and you bend your left knee above your left ankle. So not overextended, that's not very good for your knee if your knee overextended. You just keep your knee there, above your front ankle. Just make adjustments, definitely keeping your knee there. And if you look at your knee facing the same direction as your second toe, facing forward. With your hands on your hips, we're going to encourage the hips to move back. And we want to check back hip in line with your knee and your back ankle. So that's right leg there. And then stretch your arms, squeeze your tummy muscles in, and maybe sit a little low on the front hip. And again, checking your knee above your ankle, checking that front knee, definitely there, good alignment. Knee above your ankle, knee facing the same direction as your second toe. Open your shoulders, look over your left, take a deep breath. Expand your chest on the inhalation. If you're challenging the strength on your legs and your hips, maybe sit a little lower. If you have too much pressure on your knee, lift your toes upwards to engage your shin muscles. Well done. Now inhale, straighten your legs. Exhale, relax your arms. We go to different direction. Now feet parallel. And now turn your right foot to the right. And check your heel, your front heel in line with the middle of your back and step. And you bend your right knee now. And again, check your knee above your ankle, with your hands on the hips, moving the hips back, your back hip in line with your knee and your back ankle. Sit lower if you can. Stretch your arms and look over your right. And just a reminder, if you have problem with your knees, you need more support for your knees, lift your toes upwards on the front foot or the back foot. That gives you more support for the joints, for your knee joints. As your tummy muscles engage, squeeze the legs towards the midline and breathe. Another couple of deep breaths, using whole capacity of your lungs. Well done. Now inhale, straighten your legs, relax your arms and zigzag your feet together. Zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Give your legs a little shake. And again, come to the front of your mat. Now step back again with your right foot back. And you now facing to the front of your mat. Take your feet a little wider. So right foot hopping to the right edge of your mat and your left hopping to the left edge of your mat. So this is where we want to see space between your feet, hips width apart. So this is very good for the lower back, for the hips also. And then you bend your front knee. And you check, okay, front knee above your front ankle again. If it's overextended, you just hop back with your back foot a little bit more. Knee above your ankle, hips facing forward. Squeeze the legs towards the midline. Maybe, if it's all right, For you, lift your back heel off the floor and your second toe, your knee and your hip facing forward to the front of your mat. Squeeze the legs and your hips, lots of tailbone to engage your tummy muscles, and then stretch your arms upwards. Warrior one, a little bit more strength. This is the posture where we develop more strength for the hips, for the lower back, for the legs. Lovely stretch for the shoulders. And if it's appropriate, lift your chest higher, take your arms back and extend a little bit more. Open your shoulders, open the front of the chest. Deep breath. Squeeze the legs like you squeeze the block between your inner thighs. That's the energy. Squeeze in and lengthen, extend and stretch. Inhale. And as you exhale, stretch forward, stretch, stretch, stretch. Now hands to your front knee and take a moment. Push the hips back like you're trying to lift your tailbone. This releases the lower back. And then step forward. Step forward, relax your legs. Shake, shake, shake your legs. And we change sides. Now step back with your left foot back. Take your feet to the edges of your mat. Bend your front knee and taking the front knee above your front ankle. Squeeze the legs, tummy in, and maybe lift your back heel off the floor. Maybe not. If you can, lift your back heel so you're sort of doing high leg lunge. Lots of tailbone, tummy in. Stretch your arms and keep your legs very strong and steady. Squeeze the legs towards the midline. Lift your chest. Stretch back. Take your thumbs back. Arms reaching upwards and back. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Breathe deeply into your chest. Back leg is super strong and steady. Inhale. And as you exhale, squeeze the legs. And then stretch forward, stretch, stretch, stretch forward, touch your front knee and push the hips back, like you're trying to lift your tailbone. Easy, this is easy for the lower back. And then step forward, relax your legs, shake your legs, and watch me for a moment. We're going to finish with the down facing dog. I love down facing dog. It's a super stretch for the whole back of the body, very good for the back and for the hips. I want to show you options. If you're new to yoga and you're not sure, you might want to do this easier option when you're resting your hands somewhere on the tailbone, on the table, or on the back of the chair, and then you're pushing away. So you're pushing the hips away and you're lengthening through the whole back of the body, especially your back. We want to keep back long. And if you have to keep your knees bent, absolutely fine. So this is the beginner's option, or if you're happy to do it, classical variation, you will come on your mat with your knees away from the hips, and then you come up to this shape. So this is your down facing dog. And if you want to sport walk, feel free, sport walk a few times. Okay, so please do choose what is your option. Do you want to come to the table or to the chair and rest your hands there and then move away? Or follow me for the classical option. You come on your all fours, you take your knees away from the hips, stretch your fingers wide, squeeze your arms and your shoulders, lift your hips as high as you can up towards the ceiling, engage your tummy muscles, and push your thigh bones back, heels down. And I want you to check your legs. So the energy on your legs, like you squeezing the block between your inner thighs. So imagine that block again. You squeeze the block and move your inner thighs back. Okay, moving back with your back straight. Push the hips high towards the ceiling. Squeeze your arms and your shoulders. Press all finger pads into the floor and extend your inner thighs back, heels down. Enjoy the stretch. This is a super stretch. And I want you to remember the stretch where you feel very tight or tight in your lower back or the hips. This is a super stretch for you. Let's take another 2 deep breaths. And then when you finish, come up high on your tiptoes, bring your knees down to the floor. And if it's appropriate, you're going to sit into the child pose, knees wide to the edges of your mat, feet flat, and you sit back. Push the hips back and back and back. Walk your fingers forward and relax. Slow down your breath. This is called child pose. Lovely relaxing posture. Soft and gentle stretch. Passive stretch for the back, for the shoulders, for the hips. Another 2 deep breaths. And then inhale, lift your head, slide your hands to your knees. Okay, well done everyone. Okay, bring your hands to your heart. Just close your eyes for a moment. And just reflect your practice, reflect your intention of the practice. Notice how you feel. Enjoy extra strength, flexibility, and clarity of mind. And then open your eyes. Well done, everyone. Thank you very much. And we come now closer to the screen, and we're going to listen to Mark's talk. And if you need to have a little break to go to the kitchen and grab your cup of tea or cup of coffee or just a glass of water, please do. And then sit down and relax. Sit where you feel very comfortable, maybe even sit on the sofa or on a chair, on an armchair, not necessarily on your yoga mat. Okay.
But anyway, so I'm going to talk about fats today. I mean, there was the one question: what fats are you going to roast your potatoes in? We'll come on to that at the end of the talk, if you eat potatoes, that is. So yeah, I'm going to talk about fats and okay. So fats. So the thing about fats in the diet, it's one of the macronutrients that has had probably the bad press compared to the others. So you've got the fats and the proteins and the carbohydrates. And it's the fats that we tend to sort of think of as being the demon of our foods. They varied in the diets over time. If we go back to when we all started in our evolution, you know, sort of probably it was about 50% animal to 50% plant. And the animals that contained the most fat that we ate, you know, were probably much leaner back in those days because they used to run away rather than be hunted. And then, so the fat in the diet has changed over time due to a lot of reasons, mainly due to farming. So we now have a lot of dairy in the diet, so a lot more fats in that respect. And we also process a lot of food. So whereas the fats that came from plants came with the whole plant and the nuts and the seeds, now we can process those and we can make oils out of them as well. So everything's changed. And then back in the 1950s, there was a scientist called Ansel Keys that declared that a diet high in saturated fat and cholesterol led to heart disease. So after that, the American Heart Foundation, they actually recommended that our diets be low in fat and high in carbohydrate. This carbohydrate coming from grains and seeds. So fat at the time started to get a very bad name. But the one thing I want to tell you about fat today is I want you to realize how important it actually is. So it's a great source of energy. It's a denser energy than the other two, than carbohydrate, protein. We also store energy as fat, and that's probably another reason that fat gets such a bad name, because it's a very convenient way of storing our energy, and that's why the actual percentage of fat inside a person can vary from anything from 16% up to about 70%. So it's a very variable substance in the body as well. It's vital for our cell membranes. It makes up the cell. So cell vitality is very important. It needs fat so that we can actually get nutrients into the cell and actually get rid of toxins out of the cell. We actually use it to keep warm. It's part of our thermal insulation. So, you know, and also it does cushion the organs as well. So it's very important for that as well. We need it for hormones, to make hormones. We need to have fat is the substrate to make hormones. We need it to grow. So yeah, I'm just about to become a a granddad, and so I've been making sure that my daughter's been eating a very healthy fat so that the baby can have a lovely healthy brain. We also needed to make local hormones, which actually are part of the inflammation process. And though a lot of people see inflammation as a negative process in the body, it's actually a very important process. So if we have a disease or we actually get some kind of injury, we need an inflammatory process in order to heal from that. And it's needed for the immune system and the nervous system. So the transmission of nerves is very important. Fat's very important for that. Otherwise, the nerves wouldn't transmit their impulses. And certain vitamins can only be absorbed with fat. So vitamins A, vitamins D, vitamins E and K, they have to have fat in so that we can absorb them. So it's very important, very important macronutrient in the diet. So the problem is, so the government still recommends that no more than 10% of energy comes from dietary fat, which I disagree with. And also, so the recommendations within government guidelines tend to be that we should eat low fat, things like low fat dairy, fat-free yogurts, and we should also make the emphasis that we eat unsaturated fats from oils and spreads, where saturated fat has become quite demonized, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So, I mean, when I recommend the amount of fats that should come from the percentage of energy that should come from fat, I will probably recommend that we should have more around about 50% of our energy from fat. So you can see the difference in where I'm coming from. The problem with a lot of the low fat options that are recommended is they're actually high in sugar. When the fat's taken out, they usually replace it with sugar. And also the seed oils that are recommended by government, so a lot of the polyunsaturated fats contain a lot of what we call trans fats. These are damaged fats, and they create a lot of inflammation in the body as well. So what's the new thinking? So low fats, they mean more sugar generally. Without fat in the diet, we actually get less satisfaction from the food that we eat. And probably the biggest thing that's happened in the past few years to change our opinion on fat is there was a study, and it was called the Pure Study, and it was done with about 135,000 people over 17 countries. So it's a very, very, very big study. And it found that people consuming more fat, i.e. 35% of daily energy, were less likely to die than those consuming 10% of daily energy. So that goes right against the original research that was done by Ansel Keys back in the 1950s. And a lot of the studies that were done on fats were actually done on junk food fats. So that was something that wasn't really told to people. So some of the studies that were saying fat was bad because it did this, that, and the other, it was mainly on it was done on sort of like saturated fats from junk foods. And now there is actually a new study that's just come out saying that it's inadequate evidence now to keep advising against foods high in saturated fat. So it's back on the menu, lads and lasses. So so you can happily eat that. So what are the healthy fats? So they're in a variety of foods. So they're in fruits. So things like avocados and olives. Avocados become very popular over the past few years. They're in seeds, so sort of things like pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, which I recommend a lot of clients to sort of sprinkle on their morning breakfast if they have that sort of type of breakfast. And the seed oils, so the flaxseed oil, sunflower oil, olive oil. But once again, you have to ensure that your oils are cold pressed, and the reason for that is any heat with those type of unsaturated oil will actually cause the oil to damage and produce trans fats, which are unhealthy. Nuts, so nuts are high in fat and very healthy fat. Coconut oil, grass-fed meat. And the reason we put the emphasis on grass-fed meat is because it will have there's a higher ratio of what we call omega-3 fatty acids within that rather than omega-6 fatty acids from the normal grain-fed meats, and that can be more inflammatory in the diet. And then we have our wonderful oily fish that nutritionists go on a lot about. So the smash fish, as we call it, salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring, very, very healthy in the diet. And actually, probably one of the only fat recommendations that the European Food Safety Association actually make is to eat, 2 to 3 portions of fish a week, of which one should be oily. So it's actually a recommendation on fats. I just mentioned earlier that some fats are actually essential in the diet. So what that means is we can't make them in the body, so we have to get them from food. And these are the omega-6 and the omega-3 fatty acids. They can be both inflammatory and anti-inflammatory. And the omega-3 fatty acids having more of a reputation for being anti-inflammatory, and the omega-6 for more of an inflammatory reaction in the body. The problem with diets over the past decades and thousands of years is that we've changed the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in our diet, where we used to in our caveman days probably eat a ratio of about 1 to 1. Now we're talking about a ratio of 20 to 1 in the Western diet. So it's far more inflammatory, and it's probably causing a lot more sort of health conditions over time. Sources of omega-3 fatty acids. I quite like this slide because PowerPoint give you sort of recommendations, and I saw this one with a bug on it. And I thought, okay, I'll put that one in, because sources of the very healthy omega-3 fats are the oily fish, which I mentioned earlier. Flax seeds. Flax seeds they have about 50% omega-3 fatty acids in. Chia seeds are quite high, and sort of walnuts, dark green leaves. And then we have algae, some of the sort of spirulinas and chlorellas, but quite small amounts, because otherwise you've got to eat a lot of them and they're not that pleasant. But I did put insects in here because one of my passions is maybe trying to get the world to eat insects, and they're high in omega-3 fatty acids as well. So I did a talk once, and I gave the audience dried locusts to eat, which went down all right with some people, but not all. So they're cooking with fats. So this is one of the things I'm asked a lot, and it's one of the sort of main things that we said as far as advertising today's particular course. So what is best for cooking? Well, the saturated fats that we've demonized for so long are probably one of the best things that we can cook in, because as they're called saturated fats, that means that they without getting too chemical, they don't contain any double bonds, which means that they maintain their shape. And when they're heated, that means that shape doesn't change, and they don't become oxidized, and therefore can cause damage in the body. So they tolerate heat very well. So some of the best fats for cooking at high temperatures are things like coconut oil, butter, and ghee, because they are saturated fats. Coconut oil actually has more saturated fat than meat in it, so you never get one fat that contains just saturated fat, or just monounsaturated fat, or polyunsaturated fat, probably the fats that you've heard of. They will have a range of fat, but they will be more predominant in one. So coconut oil is very, very predominant in saturated fat. After that, my choice of cooking oil is monounsaturated fat, so extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia oil. It will oxidize at higher temperatures, because remember, it does have a double bond, and also there will be some polyunsaturated fats within extra virgin olive oil. But they contain antioxidants, which are actually naturally occurring. So you do get vitamin E in there. And I don't know whether anyone, likes their olive oil like I particularly do, but the more extra virgin it is, and the more peppery the taste of the oil, it means it has more antioxidants in there. So I tend to buy personally an organic, unfiltered extra virgin olive oil because it has more naturally occurring antioxidants in there. So I wouldn't cook any higher than about 180 degrees with that one. So whereas your coconut oil I would use for roasting, probably the olive oil I would use more for say sweating out the onions and the garlic when you're making a sort of a lovely dish, you know. So I would use olive oil then because it does have some strong anti-inflammatory properties, and also you can always use it as a pouring oil as well and in salad dressings. If you're cooking vegetable oil at the moment, I'm going to say to you, go to your cupboard and throw it in the bin. So because polyunsaturated oils, when they're heated at high temperatures and cooked with, you know, will oxidize. They produce I mean, just to tell you what they do produce, they produce aldehydes and ketones, and one of the aldehydes they do produce is seen as quite carcinogenic. So it's one thing that I don't recommend. It doesn't mean that I tell people not to buy polyunsaturated oils, but use them for pouring over food and you know, sort of having the benefit of them that way, so you're not heating them. And when you do buy those oils as well, it's probably quite important to buy them in very dark glass bottles. It's the best way of keeping them in good condition for a long time, because otherwise you probably come across an oil that goes rancid. You know, the process is quite slow to get to the end, but rancidity is where the smell changes and the taste changes, and they're more prone to go rancid, so they need to be stored reasonably well. And when you do buy them, you can look at the sell-by date, and you can also look at the date when they were cold pressed as well, if the oil has that, and sort of choose one that's not that far away. I do sort of see all these vegetable oils in supermarkets in their clear bottles, and you know, it's a sort of it's something that I think it's a very simple message that more people could have, you know, to actually improve their health, you know, just to not buy those sorts of oils for cooking. So anything else on oils? So I was going to mention a little bit about cholesterol, because some people sometimes are worried with cholesterol levels, which when you actually have a diet that's higher in fats, sometimes the cholesterol levels that you go and get tested at the doctor may increase, but I always see cholesterol as what I describe a misunderstood nutrient rather than the demon, once again, that it's made out to be. That is needed for so many activities within the body. It's needed to make vitamin D. See, I saw vitamin D was in the news today, saying that they're going to give vitamin D to some people throughout the winter. Well, if you go out into sunlight and you make your own vitamin D in the skin, you will need cholesterol in order to do it. It's also important for making our stress hormones. I know we don't always want stress hormones, but they are very important. So cortisol is made from cholesterol. Our sex hormones are all made from cholesterol. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all made from cholesterol. It also makes another hormone called aldosterone, which we need for fluid balance. So it sort of it regulates salt and water balance within blood. And so therefore it has an impact on blood pressure. And we need it to make bile salts. So in order for us to digest fats, we actually need cholesterol. And it also makes up part of all the membranes of the cells. So without cholesterol in there, we wouldn't have the rigidity in the cells. We need fluidity and rigidity at the same time. You try saying that with your teeth in. So fluidity and rigidity we need in the membrane, so things can flow easily into the cell and toxins can flow out quite easily as well, but we still need the cell to maintain its shape. So cholesterol is an important nutrient in my particular books. So yeah, a wrong message has been given about cholesterol for years, and there's a recent study, a pretty recent study, a Japanese study in 2009, and it found that bad cholesterol, you know, that we talk about the LDL cholesterol as being the bad cholesterol, was actually lower in people with heart disease. So, you know, sort of this, but one of the things that, because when they started to be able to measure cholesterol, and they started to sort of tell people that they should lower cholesterol, they were able to do that with the use of a drug, and so that, which is the statin. And now it's over 200 million people take a statin, and the industry is worth about $20 billion a year. So it's a huge industry for the pharmaceutical industry, huge money maker. But they have found that over a period of 10 years, the percentage of men with high cholesterol has dropped, whereas coronary heart disease has still remained the same. So you know, we've actually seen cholesterol dropping, but coronary heart disease has still maintained its own level. And it was considered, I don't know how long ago, but I know that anyone with 6.5 millimoles per litre of cholesterol was considered normal, and then they dropped that figure to 5 millimoles per litre of blood. You know, so you know, they were able to sort of sell more statins on the back of that. There's a lot of better other measures of cardiovascular risk. So things like the actual particle size of the cholesterol. It's something that doctors won't measure. It's something that I can get measured. But if the cholesterol happens to be a big fluffy type cholesterol, it's not a sort of a low density cholesterol, then that is actually a healthy cholesterol. And so it could be that you've got high levels of cholesterol, and they're the big fluffy types, and actually it's quite healthy. And equally, you could have low levels of cholesterol, but the actual cholesterol you got is the very tightly packed sort of dense type, and that can easily become oxidized within blood vessels. So there's a lot of better markers when it comes to cardiovascular risk than just telling someone that they're on a that they need to go on a statin or something like that. So to sum up, you know, I hope I've given a little bit of an overview as to why that maybe fat isn't the demon that we think that has been thought of for probably since the 50s now, for quite a long time. And this is something that a lot of people have left out of their diets for a long time, especially saturated fats. And to go into a little bit more detail on saturated fats, something like butter. When if you are of an age, you'll remember the adverts about butter or margarine. Can you taste the difference? When we were all told to eat margarine rather than butter. Butter actually contains is a saturated fat with a short chain fatty acid called butyric acid, which is really important for gut health. So I actually do encourage my clients to eat butter as long as they're not in dairy intolerant anyway. But you know, for the benefit of the butyric acid, our microbiome will make butyric acid, but then we have to have a decent amount of undigestible fiber that they will then ferment to make the butyric acid. But our cells within the actual gut love butyric acid. It actually heals gut cells. So you know so you've got that saturated fat, butter, that's very, very important. And also coconut oil contains some what we call medium chain triglycerides, and a couple of those are caprylic acid. And that is also, besides being a great source of energy, it's also very antifungal. And what we find with people that maybe have had a history of antibiotic taking, that fungus and yeast can build up within the gut. And caprylic acid is one of the things that can be used to sort of get rid of those, you know, going forward, if that has been the case. So that's a little overview. I mean, I will leave you with this, which is enjoy your roasties. I certainly will be enjoying mine, so don't worry. I think that's the other thing about the message that I wanted to give today is that food is there to be enjoyed, you know, sort of like it is to be enjoyed. It's quite a case of trying to use whole foods in a healthy way. So it's not a case of you know, all foods are bad, this food's bad, or whatever. If you trend to buy your foods in their whole form and sort of cook them in a healthy way, they make part of a healthy diet. It tends to be the processed, highly refined foods that is something that I always try and minimize within clients' diets. So I would urge you to go and this Christmas make your roast potatoes using your saturated fats and avoid the Aunt Bessies in the freezer section, because they will be full of trans fats and unhealthy. So yeah, I'll take any questions. Hope that was good. Let's just stop my share. There you go. So I can come back to yeah. So I don't know whether there's anything in the chat. I'll look. Hang on. Let's have a look. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, I have got one. Yeah. Can I answer this one, Olga? Yeah. It's someone says, what about rapeseed oil? Right, rapeseed oil has become very trendy over the past few years. I would put that below olive oil, because it does contain more polyunsaturated fats than olive oil. It's not the worst one, but it's heavily processed in the United States, and you'll hear about canola oil in the United States, and that is a very unhealthy oil to use in any shape or form of cooking. So that's where I put rapeseed oil. So I will still have my saturated fats at high temperatures. I will still have my then have my olive oil, and then under that I would have the rapeseed oil, which would come a long way probably before any sunflower and corn oils and those sorts of things. And I will mention one more, because another popular one obviously is goose fat at Christmas. You know, which is a sort of a saturated fat. Depending on what the goose has been fed on. It's sort of which is a really difficult one, because you're not going to go to Sainsbury's and pick up your jar of goose fat and sort of say, and go to customer service and say, could you tell me what this goose was fed on? The more corn the goose has been fed on, within that saturated fat, the more sort of omega-6 fatty acids you're going to have. But, you know, I would think at Christmas it'll be a safe enough bet. If you were doing goose fat day in, day out, I'd probably sort of say maybe switch on to some more of the coconut oils and butters and ghee. So, but lard is great as well. Same thing. Lard is superb as well. But once again, it's sourcing your lard. So it's sourcing an organic lard where the actual cow or whatever has been fed on grass, what it's naturally meant to eat. So yeah, it's all about sourcing. Sourcing food is very, very important. Is farmed salmon okay? No. No. Once again, yeah, salmon's another one, and we do tell people to. Actually, if you do see me, I'm going to put your food bill up. I'm afraid. I'm really sorry about this, because yeah. No, it's with salmon. It's when it's farmed, it's actually fed a lot on sort of grain-based food, so it's actually not really eating what it's naturally meant to eat. So so the farm salmon will have a higher proportion of omega-6 fatty acids rather than the omega-3 fatty acids. And if you notice, if you go and look at the salmon in a supermarket and you look at your wild salmon and your farm salmon, you'll see a lot more fat within the salmon as well, so that the actual fat increases too. So you get more white lines in it than you do in the actual wild salmon. And within the wild salmon as well, you'll notice the colour's very different. It's far redder, far pinker, and that means it contains more of an antioxidant called astaxanthin, and which is a very potent antioxidant in the body. So it's much healthier. Which are best for salads? Once again, this is where you can have a little bit more choice, because I mean, I still like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil on my salads. I mean, that's a taste thing, but you can maybe, if you wanted to sort of have some of them sort of, if you're a vegan, I mean, I say if you're a vegan and you weren't eating salmons and the omega-3s higher up the chain, I would maybe recommend some flaxseed oil on salad sometimes, you know, so because you're increasing the amount of omega-3s within your diet. We don't necessarily convert that particular omega-3 within flaxseed that well into the higher ones, what we call the EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids, which are very beneficial to health. But there is some conversion. Do I recommend sesame oil? Once again, I would recommend that as a sort of pouring oil. I know it's a popular oil for cooking, and it sort of does give a lovely flavour in cooking. I must admit, I do like it, but I wouldn't use it at too high a temperature if I was going to use it within the cooking process. So if you're sort of using maybe a stir fry where you quite like a sesame oil, I may put some water into the stir fry to reduce that temperature down, so you can still have the benefit of the taste, but not heat the oil too much, or drizzle it at the end. Yeah, as I've just been told. So spreadable butter. Anything that's got any extra processing in it will actually change some of the fat content. Spreadable butter, I can just about say it, is really made spreadable by putting more water into it, but it will change the fatty acid content to a degree. So you may get some more trans fats within the spreadable butter. So I actually would rather see, you know, the old-fashioned pack of butter, and once again I buy grass-fed butter again. And probably the one that's very easy to buy is Kerrygold, because it definitely comes from grass-fed herds. So I would buy that as my butter. Can fat be malabsorbed? Yes. So we actually try and we try and maximize the digestion of fats, and one of the ways we do that is to actually increase bile in the body, bile flow. So that's done with what we call two names of things that increase bile flow are choleretics and cholagogues, and they come from bitter foods. So bitter foods will increase your bile flow, and you need the bile to actually increase the surface area of the fat, so the enzymes can digest it. So, and things like olive oil will increase bile flow as well. So yeah, sorry, just so that will increase bile flow. Dandelion root, that's another thing that increases bile flow. So these are foods that you can put in your diet. I mean, we're quite famous in this household for foraging our dandelions all the time. You know, so I'm putting them into salads and things like that. But rocket's another one that's quite bitter and will increase the flow of bile as well. So they can be malabsorbed. The way in which, if you feel you've got a problem with fat digestion, you make sure the stomach acid is working properly as well, and also you would want to maybe pop in a digestive enzyme. You can buy digestive enzymes that can help with the digestion as well, just to maximize that. Deep fat frying, what should we use now, since I have to throw out the sunflower oil? Okay, right, deep fat frying. Yeah, it's the hard oils. You know, I know. I mean, if you go back to my youth, you know, there was a saucepan that had a little fryer in, and it used to solidify until it was sort of used the next time. Hopefully not used too often, but yeah, if you can get away with the harder fats, that is better. If you could have olive oil, but I wouldn't heat it higher than 180 degrees. Yeah, I think deep fat frying is something that you don't want to do too often. I know it's lovely. I know, you know, and I know that, you know, triple cooked chips are wonderful and things like that. But it's once again, it's a treat rather than an everyday occurrence. You know, but yeah, throw away the sunflower oil. You know, it's the best advice I can give you today. So. And yeah, any live questions, or is it? I don't know, do I unmute you, or?
Oh, I think Catherine wanted to ask a question.
Yeah. Hi, Catherine.
Okay.
You've already answered it, actually, because I was going to ask about the lard and the and the dripping.
Like, I know you would know a lot about that as well. Yeah. So yeah, well informed person. So yeah. But it's a nice question to ask, because not everyone knows it. That's the thing. Not everyone knows the answer, and they still see it as that unhealthy fat. And it's actually not.
I love it.
Yeah, it's actually. Not that I'm in that extreme, but there's a doctor called Paul Saladino. He's actually written a book called the Carnivore Code. So he only eats meat, and one of the things he eats a lot of is suet, which comes from the kidney of the cow. Sorry, I'm losing my throat.
So when I get my sheep slaughtered, or I get anything else slaughtered, I always ask for the leaf fat, which is the internal organ fat back.
Yeah, I mean, and then put some my way as well, please. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. So don't go away from this talk scared of fat in any shape or form. It's a wonderful nutrient that we actually do need it. In our diets, but we need the healthy version. So
yeah, and I have just the last question.
Yes.
So which oil you going to use when you fry your potatoes? Or you roast your potatoes?
This year, and if I can source my goose fat really well, it will be that, because that would be lovely and traditional. And if not, it will be a coconut oil. Yeah, so that will be what I'll be using. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
If you're a vegan and you don't eat butter, lard, and all of that, what would you suggest?
Right, with vegan, so I would maximize the omega-3s within the diet. So I'd be looking at the flaxseed, to get that ratio right. So that'd be one thing that I would look at with a vegan diet. I mentioned before that flaxseed contains an essential fatty acid called alpha-linolenic acid. Just to tell you which one it is, and that's converted up the scale by the body to EPA and DHA. So they are so DHA is very good for brain. EPA is very anti-inflammatory in the body. So it produces those little anti-inflammatory hormones around everywhere in the body. So in order to maximize that conversion, which we don't do very well, I've got to say that, we need to sort of maximize some certain cofactors in the body. So B vitamins, vitamin C, zinc. They're all cofactors that we need to make sure are in our diet as well, so we can maximize that conversion. One thing I do with a lot of my vegan clients is I do advise them to maybe take an omega-3 oil, which is high in DHA stroke EPA, and that comes from algal sources. So you can actually source that, and you'll find that if there is any sort of inflammation, you might find that once you start supplementing that, certain things get better. So they're the fats as far as the omega-3 that I recommend. And then with a vegan diet, I recommend the coconut oil in the diet, the sort of avocados, olives, those sources of oils, which are monounsaturated fats and healthy saturated fats. So yeah, that's what I do. I try and steer people away from the sort of vegan spreads. I'd rather see you drizzling some olive oil on bread, or using. I quite like coconut oil on spreading that as well. So I'd much rather see that. The spreads, I'm afraid, will have some trans fats in them. Sort of like the sort of it's processing foods. Any sort of processing foods means the food's been altered in some way. So yeah, I hope that answers it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think we have another question somewhere.
Okay. Which
Yes.
oil should we use for roasting? Is that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So I use extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil. I mean, my one I use from a company called Biona. So I use their coconut oil. So Yeah. So
Okay.
they do a mild one, which doesn't sort of doesn't impart such a flavour. Oh, I'm gonna have to plug in actually, otherwise I've got low battery come up. So
I noticed Jane, you wanted to say something, Jane?
I was going to ask, when you said vegans and no spreads, were you meaning the spreads like I use an almond oil cheese spread that they make, so it's a vegan cheese? Is that not good then?
I'd have to look into that. I mean, my gut feeling says no. But if you want to send me an email, I'll look into that, because I don't want to sort of.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to say I don't want to deprive you of something that you like and is actually okay for you. So I'd rather look into it. So yeah, send me an email, please do. I'll look at that.
Thank you.
A lot of the time, as I say, they're processed and they can increase the amount of trans fats in the diet.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wants to ask question? We have 2 minutes. No? Okay. Everyone happy?
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Okay. Well done. Okay. And thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you very much to Mark for this very informative conversation about the oils and fats. I think it's so important. Yeah. And for the next months, please do send me ideas or questions. What do you want to talk about? So we can choose the theme with Mark for the next time, for the next month.
Right.
Okay? So
great talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right then.
In chat, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. All right then.
Good. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Lots of love to everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.